before you were using the wedding lead machine system, tell me about how you were running your business before. What were you doing?
I was pretty much relying solely on word of mouth and then wedding wire, and then I had just added the knot um, monthly at that point.
Mhm.
So I'd been paying for that was pretty much the only advertising that I was doing. I was posting on Instagram and Facebook. I was blogging the sessions that I had. But that was pretty much from an advertising standpoint all that I was doing.
Exactly. Okay, so mainly word of mouth, some affiliate programs, just getting started with like social media and stuff. And when you were
Mhm.
doing that, how many leads and clients were you getting from this?
Well, it's seasonal. And I'm trying to remember back now, like a couple a month, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say like maybe two.
yeah. And those are
I'm not. I
like two leads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, well, I mean, maybe, yeah, I mean, at the most five,
yeah. So
like,
maybe
during,
around
like,
2 to 5 leads, and maybe
yes,
one of those become like a client or something. Correct.
yes,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. Very cool. And so now that you've been using the wedding lead machine system, tell me about your current results and how many leads and clients have you been generating?
So, it took a lot of work when I first, started the system. I was like, oh my God, this is so much work. This better work. I was like, I've spent like 12 hours in front of my computer. This better work. And so I spent a lot of time on the front end with it and went live with the Facebook ads and things and started building my email list. And what I kind of thought in the beginning, like when I first started the program, I thought the secret sauce or the magic was in knowing how to run an Facebook ad and knowing how to, and knowing how to qualify leads and identify warm leads and hot leads and how they warm up. I thought that was sort of like the breakthrough for me, and because
Uh-huh.
I was getting some success there. But then it hasn't been until recently that I have really seen the magic in the email
Yeah.
lists. Like, it's about the list. Like, I don't know why that didn't click for me, but it's, yeah, you do get some leads of, you know what their price point is, you get a lot of information about them on the front end after you've kind of found them through the Facebook ad thing. But I didn't realize that like all that work I did in the beginning, I thought had already paid off in like October, November, and that's what I was going to see. But now I'm seeing this huge influx of inquiries from my email list.
That's
And like
awesome.
I had a client meeting the other day, and I spent a lot of time creating the content for my, the warm up and all that kind of stuff. I spent a lot of time creating that content. And I had a client meeting the other day, which is kind of what inspired me to reach out to you and be like, hey, I'm just now clicking with this working.
Exactly.
Um, she was like, she knew so much about me already and how I worked. And like, it was just weird. She's like, yeah, I saw that in one of your emails. And I saw this in one of your emails. And I'm like, oh my God, she's like reading it. like, because you kind of do all this work and you just kind of think you're doing it for nobody. Like, nobody's ever going to read it.
Exactly. That's so
Um,
true. And I'm curious. I'm curious to hear as well. Like, what made you stick? This was a whole new system for you. What made you
mhm.
decide to stick through? Because you said it was really hard. Like, especially in the beginning,
Yes.
setting all of that up. And what some of my students come across is they realize how hard it is to set up this like new system, and then because when they realize it, they either don't finish it or they don't understand why it's important that what you're building. What
Right.
made you stick through to it?
In the beginning, I think it's just part of my personality. Like I've started something, I've invested in something. I'm not really lit. I'm not. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not staying true or fulfilling my investment if I in the course if I'm not doing the things you're telling me to do.
Yeah.
Like I can't like why would I pay the money for the course and then not do the things that the course tells me to do? So I think part of that is just me being a bit of a completionist.
Yeah.
But the other part of it, I think, is like I just saw a lot of value in the things that you were. It just made sense to me that this would work because I had been. I think I mentioned to you in the beginning at some point, like as you were kind of explaining some of this to me, I was like, you know what, like this, I've had this used on me before. Like this feels familiar. Like I have bought things from other photographers that have used this psychology or whatever you want to call it on me. So I'm like, well, it worked on me. It's going to work on someone else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that would be probably why I stick with it. And then why I've continued to stick with it even in the longer term, honestly, it's because like this kind of like whole program sort of sparked my interest in entrepreneurship and reaching out into a world of marketing. And so I feel like I've just been all of a sudden consuming, where before I consumed everything photography, and I still do, but now I'm like consuming everything marketing and entrepreneurship. And I've listened to all these podcasts and read all these books, and everything there is like things that I'm like, oh, well, yeah, Jordan says that, like it's stuff. I'm like, yeah, I mean, like that makes sense. Like, especially like I've really fallen in love with Jenna Kutcher's Gold Digger podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like the same, like she recently did a podcast about email lists. I'm like, I've been doing that.
It's powerful. A good email list is really powerful. And so like to this day, how many leads have you generated and how many of those have been clients so far?
Well, I have over 150 people on my list.
Awesome.
On my email list. And that's from running two engagement experience ads.
Very cool.
And one I put together a wedding planning guide.
Yeah.
With just like timeline tips in it. And so I put that on there. And so between those three things, that's how big my list has gotten, which I feel like is small, but it's still yielding results. So as far as how many leads now I'm getting, I mean, in the past 2 weeks, I've probably gotten 25 leads.
Wow.
Just in the past 2 weeks or so. And, it's cyclical. It goes
exactly.
Like, we're kind of coming out of engagement season now, so, you kind of expect that. But I get far more emails to my inbox. Where before, all of the leads I got were through the Wedding Wire app.
Yeah.
And now, for the most part, like pretty much all of them, if it wasn't that, then it was like a direct text message or call from someone that I knew. And now it's all coming through my system, which is even nicer because they're all coming through like my client management system. I'm able to manage all of them a lot easier as well.
Exactly. And like a list of 150 brides, that's really powerful. Like most photographers, they use the Instagram strategy just because that's what they see most photographers doing, and it's the easy thing to do. But most photographers don't have 150 brides following them on their Instagram, Maybe they have a couple, 100 followers, maybe even 1,000 followers, but maybe only 5 or 10 of those are actually like newly engaged brides. But now you have a system where you have 150 brides who are following you, following your content. And now that you get them in your email list and stuff, what has been your way to try to convert the qualified brides into clients for you?
Sure. So I have, I've developed the onboarding process. When they sign up to be a part of the engagement session experience or the timeline guide, they get the 5 days of content. And then I also set up through MailChimp, I set up every week for 90 days. They get an email from me.
That's awesome.
And so it's like the 90, like brides who signed up in October are the ones that are sort of like reaching out to me now. Because they've been following, like I said, like that one bride, she's read all of my emails. They've been following all of
That's awesome.
these emails and these tips that I've been watching. And I also, within the emails, I've been telling them, go follow me. Like, I've been giving calls to action in the emails. So
Good.
I've been like,
exactly.
I've been like, go follow me on Instagram. Make sure you like my page on Facebook, you know. And like, not every one of them has like a go to my, like, you know, contact page and fill out this form. Like, not all of them are like hire manager photographer.
Exactly.
But there's some kind of call to action in there in all of them. And then another thing that I've started doing that has just been kind of, that has been big for my list, that's been like a plus, and you may have added this to the course, but MailChimp now has pop-up integration that you can put in WordPress.
Yeah.
So I put a pop-up on my website, and that's been, like, I've gotten like 20 people on my email list added in the last week. Like, I just started doing that. And the way that I'm not just like, hey, sign up for my newsletter, I offer that timeline guide on the pop-up.
That's awesome. That's really good. And that's a way to be able to get your website viewers into a lead.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Converting.
That's perfect.
And as far, like, you have, like, the brilliant thing, too, about what you taught me with the information that you got. You know what their budgets are, and you just kind of are able to tease out information to determine if this is someone that you even want to work with. Like, I know somebody, if their budget is less than $1,000, I'm not gonna reach out to them directly, because that's another thing. Like, after they've reached the 90 days and I've sent all of the emails, I'll send them a personal email. I'll go in and tease like the ones that are at my price point budget wise, or maybe good location, they already have a venue, whatever, and I'll email them directly or message them on Facebook directly.
Yeah. And what do you say to them when you message them?
You found a photographer. Do what?
What do you say to them when you follow up to them like that?
I'm like, hey, I just, congratulations on being engaged. I know that you've been following my email series. If you're still looking for a photographer, I'd love to speak with you. Please click and put the link to my website to fill out the form or whatever.
That's awesome.
So, and I've had, I did that like in kind of mass. There was like 20 people or so that I teased out, and like 4 of them emailed me back, and I have 2 meetings with.
That's
or I have 2 meetings.
And one thing that I really like that you do, so you have your 5-day wedding planning guide, correct? And so that's your initial automated nurturing that you do in your email list. One really smart thing that you did, though, was you made an automated weekly email that goes out. And that's just kind of value content as well, correct? And so they get something, because what I often tell my students is there's often like a 30, depending on when they got engaged, there's often a 30 to 90, maybe even more day span of where they need to be nurtured. Because if they don't have a venue, if they don't have a date, they're not ready to get a photographer just yet. And so if you're continuing to nurture them like you're doing within that 90-day span, they're going to keep thinking about Sarah, you know, until it's time for them to really reach out to a photographer. So awesome work with that.
And it's awesome like Jenna says, serve, sell. So you're giving them all this value-added content, and then you're asking them to buy something. Like, they're invested in you at a certain point.
Exactly.
And something that you said that really has stuck with me through this whole time is high-end brides aren't the kind of brides that go on the internet, find a photographer they like, and then immediately reach out and try to book.
Exactly.
High-end brides want to know the person before they want to know of you, know about you, have heard of you before they are ready to even reach out to a photographer. Like, they're only going to reach out to photographers that they already know about.
Exactly.
Like, they're not just going to be like, I'm going to book a photographer. Like, budget brides do that. Exactly. I'm going to book a photographer today, but this person looks good.
They spam on Wedding Wire, find the lowest price, and bam.
Yes.
But then when you are doing this nurturing stuff for them, you're making it easier for them to do the research on you. which is perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Awesome.
Like you said establishing yourself as an expert.
Exactly.
Like, I know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm just not some whatever with a nice camera that, like, you want a professional. And you're establishing yourself as you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. That's awesome. And so how have you been pricing your weddings now?
So I haven't really rose my prices anymore, but I don't know if anyone can identify with me on this, but I have a price point, and then I have in the past allowed brides to negotiate that a little bit. I'm like, okay, my price is $2,500, and they're like, well, what if we don't do the engagement session, and what if we drop down to 6 hours, and so I would kind of work with them on like bringing the price down. But now I can say that I'm a lot firmer because I'm more confident. Like, I'm getting plenty of leads.
Exactly.
Like, I'm getting plenty of opportunities to shoot weddings, so I can feel like, well, if that bride, unless it's somebody I really want to work with, I've been really firm with, no, this is the package. This is what I'm offering you. This is the price. And that, if you don't want to, if that's not in your budget or not what you're comfortable with, then
awesome.
Good luck.
Yeah, and I think 2,500 is a really good starting point too. And what I often recommend is wait till you start, actually, really start converting those brides at that price. Once you really feel that kind of ramping up a bit, then you can bring up your prices and stuff a little bit.
Right.
Have you?
Well,
oh yeah, what were you saying?
Every bride I've had a meeting with from the email list, like the 4 weddings that I've booked, they haven't argued. They haven't been that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they have not. They are my target client. They don't even bat an eye at that price.
That's
so
awesome.
I think that, like, negotiating has been the trickle down from the budget brides that I had been reaching before, and now this new kind of bride that I'm reaching with this program, they don't haggle.
Yeah.
They think they're getting a great deal.
That's awesome. And so, that's another question I wanted to ask was, how have you? Let me find that question real quick. When it comes to converting the leads into clients and meeting in these meetings and stuff, have you found the sales script helpful in having a system to try to get them to convert them? And how has been your experience with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. The sales script, definitely. In fact, I usually kind of pull, before I have a client meeting, which I've gotten better about now, but there for a while I would kind of pull the document back up and just kind of look through it again, just to kind of remind myself. But that's the beauty too. I feel like these people that I'm meeting, they're already on board. They're not. I don't have to talk them into it or sell to them at all. The brides that are reaching out to me, by the time they reach out to me and they've read everything there is to read about me, and I've given them all this information and provided all this content for them, I feel like the meeting almost feels like a formality. They already know me, which is kind of a weird thing, as just a regular person.
Yeah.
But they have already researched me. They've already, it's just it's a totally different kind of client than I'm now meeting and interacting with than compared to before.
Exactly.
They're just different.
That's awesome.
They have photography as a high priority. They're not looking for the best price because one of the most important things to them is photography. So they don't want a cheap photographer, you know?
Exactly. That's awesome. So talking about the new kind of clients you're getting, have you started to see a more clear vision of who your ideal client is and what are you seeing?
Yes. I think that's really the biggest thing. Somebody who values photography, and doesn't want a cheap photographer. They want someone who, because somebody asked me this question recently online, and I tried to fill in who my ideal client was, and I was like, somebody who recognizes quality. And recognizes quality and wants quality. and wants and understands that quality has a price associated with it. They understand that quality is more expensive,
Yeah,
and that they're willing to pay for that.
exactly.
So that kind of person, and this is probably beside the point, but my sort of ideal client that I've kind of in my heart, going back to like why I want to do this and who I want to work with, are people that are not 22
Yeah,
and getting married. Like I got married last year, remarried. I had been married before when I was really young, and so I find myself attracted to clients that they have been through something.
yeah,
You know, maybe this isn't their first marriage. Maybe they had someone close to them pass away. You know, maybe they've had business and it failed. Like they have had things happen to them in life, and now this is their happy ending.
got it.
Or what they believe to be their happy ending. Like, I want a more mature person they have money and they're paying for the wedding.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's so true. And often a lot of like my high ticket clients that have gotten to, they're in that more mature state, you know, and they really know what they want at
Yeah.
that time as well. And yeah, I think that's awesome. And
Yeah.
the more you kind of refine who that like ideal client is, you'll find those consultations, and you'll find your marketing so much easier when it comes to getting those kind of clients and everything. I think that's awesome. So
yeah. I'm just looking for somebody that's like me.
Yeah.
You know? Like that's how I feel. And that's who I'm gonna click with the best.
Exactly. So in an email you sent to me before, you mentioned that you now see the long-term strategy in the system. So
Mhm.
what did you mean by that?
I mean the list. I mean like what we talked about, like with like, you know, these higher end brides that recognize quality over quantity and understand quality comes at a price. That they're not the kind of clients that book quickly. Like
Yeah.
they need to think about it. And so because of that, this is a long game. And someone else told me recently, like, whatever you're doing in marketing, you're going to bust your ass at it, and you're not going to see results for 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Probably more like longer. Like, that's just kind of how it's not. And everything, you know, in society, everything going on. And I want instant gratification.
Yeah.
Like, that's me as well. Like, I get it, but you kind of have to recognize, like, if I keep busting it day after day, then it's going to take time, but eventually it'll pay off. So it's not a short game. Because I thought that, like I said before in the beginning, like that's what I thought. I thought that, oh, like Jordan telling me so much. Like I know how to run a Facebook ad. I know how to identify clients. And something else you taught me. I just want to. My brain just went whoop. Little tour, was about the whole like creating scarcity and kind of changing the verbiage on my website.
Yeah.
So was a very small thing that you said that has had a big impact on my business. Mm-hmm. Because I changed the verbiage on my website to say, like, my goal for this year was 20 weddings at that price point. And I put on my website, I'm only taking 20 brides or 20 couples this year, which is still true.
Yeah.
But it makes it sound like I'm limiting to 20, so I'm being selective and I'm not going to work with everyone that reaches out to me. And I have had several people be like, oh my God, thank God you still have an opening. And they have like rushed wanting to get the meeting. They're like, oh my God, we feel like we've got the best photographer. I literally had this, it was the mother of the bride actually, but she goes, we have just landed the best photographer in town. And I'm like, no, I didn't say that to her, but in my head I'm going, oh my God, that's insane. But I know it's because they both had this like idea that, oh my God, like she's really sought after. She's really just the idea that like, just planting that seed in someone's brain and that like you're not like desperate for clients, I'll take anybody, also I think is attractive to that higher end bride.
Absolutely.
And I figure I could have 40 weddings booked today. Like I'm confident right now, if I charged $1,300 for a wedding, I could have 40 weddings booked right now.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think that's awesome. And it's crazy, like, you know, when you put all those different aspects of, you know, persuasion together, especially when it comes to putting scarcity and urgency. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it raises your authority and it raises your value.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you do that, like in the sales script, and like at the end when they say if you want this incentive, you get it in like 24, 72 hours. Like when I started doing that, it was amazing. Like going from, you know, having a meeting, not hearing from a couple for months, and then getting bookings within 24 hours. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you feel like
Yeah.
you have control of your income now. You're not hoping for things to happen, but you're actually making it happen.
Yes, yes, it's been huge. Like the amount of growth and busyness that I've seen, like in the last 3 months, I've just people are all the time because I still have the day job, and people are like, when are you quitting? Like, because they know they see how busy I am and how I even have this. There's like this belief amongst the people in my, at my day job that I'm like a big photographer in Chattanooga. Like I've heard like they think that like, well, she's probably going to quit any time now because and I'm like, I'm really not at all like, but I'm giving this perception and illusion that I am. And so I think that's working for me, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you also, this is a question I forgot to ask, but you also mentioned that, you know, last year, January used to be kind of dead for you, but now you're a busy
Oh,
bee. Tell me a little bit about that.
yeah. Well, part of that is like I have like because I've had so many bookings lately, I've had all these engagement sessions that I didn't have before. And I think the other thing too is like I'm booking brides that plan further ahead, like
Yeah.
their weddings are because that's what higher-end brides do. And so like before, like sometimes I would be booked, 2 months before their wedding, and there's no really time to do an engagement session or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now like I have like 4 or 5 engagement sessions this month for weddings that are in the spring and summer, and one in the fall. So it's like, I didn't have that before.
Yeah.
And I have more like leads to respond to, and I have more meetings like client meetings to set up.
Yeah.
So like I have more sessions because I'm doing all these engagement sessions, but I also have all these leads that I have to follow up on. So, and meetings to set up and times to set aside for those. So, like before I just spent all of January doing education or style shoots or whatever. And now I don't have time for much of any of that.
That's awesome. Perfect. So you went from just a couple leads a month to now 150 leads and 4 wedding clients. I think that's awesome. So what are your next business goals?
Oh, you asked me that many times now. I'm always like, I think I want to hit. I'm at 13 weddings for the year right now,
Awesome.
So 20 is still the goal. I haven't hit my goal yet, so definitely to hit that goal. And I really don't want to do more than that. Like I really don't want to do more than that, and not with me still working a day job.
Yeah.
So I really want to hit that goal and then get to the point where I can raise my prices again. And I think that's going to come. And another goal, is I do want to grow my, just my reach. Like I want to grow my social media, but only to make that the handshake to get people on my list.
Exactly.
Like I want to still grow my social media presence, but only to get people to my website to get on my list. I don't care. Because, I legit have friends that have, 2,000-3,000 Instagram followers, but they only have 2 weddings booked this year.
Yeah.
So, followers and likes definitely do not necessarily translate into bookings. So I do have a goal of want to grow my Instagram and Facebook, but only to be able to reach more people to convert to my list.
Exactly. That's awesome.
So those are probably my biggest goals, because I feel like once I've booked that 20 weddings and once I've grown my account to where I'm getting even more leads, on a routine basis, then I'll feel more comfortable raising my prices again.
Yeah.
And then if things keep going well, I mean, I think there's a good possibility in my life that late 2020 I'll be able to at least go part-time on the day job.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Which when you and I first started, I didn't think there was any way.
I remember you're like, I'd like, what was the years that you said? I was like, I think maybe in like 5, 6 years. I think you could definitely do it in a lot less time than that.
I know, and like I just have to thank you for encouraging me to like. You kind of opened my horizons a little bit, like made me believe that it was like you said to me, you're like, Sarah, I think we can have bigger goals.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess you're right. I probably could, but it's just one of those things where you just, I think too, like just this whole thing was like the beginning of sparking this new like passion and excitement because it works.
Yeah.
And so when you do something that works, it gets you excited and kind of gets that ball rolling to where you start thinking like, oh, I could do that. And then you start into this world of like entrepreneurship and you see all of these people doing all of these different things. Oh, I'll tell you something else. Another goal, I want to figure out and come up with a passive income stream.
Yeah.
That's on my list. I have no idea how I'm going to do that yet. Like no clue.
I think that's awesome though.
But that it's like, but like I said, like you start with something, it works really well, you see results from it, and it just kind of snowballs into like, well, this worked and this went well, and I was able to do this, and then you start believing in yourself more that you can do even more, and your dreams get bigger, and your goals get bigger. Whereas before, I'm just lucky if I get to shoot because it's what I like to do, and now it's become more.
This can really happen.
Of like. Bigger dream because I'm like this is attainable. I can do this.
Yeah.
You know.
And one thing I always tell my students is even though you're in another job, you really need to already believe that wedding photography is your full-time career, even if you're in another job. And when you're in that mindset, you can really put in the work to make sure it happens even faster. And so stick to the system. And just keep building it through the months. Really build that list.
Mm-hmm.
Nurture more leads, close more clients, and everything. So
I did have a question I wanted to ask you.
Absolutely.
So one other thing that I've been doing is getting people to one of my calls to action is become a member of my Facebook group.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, and if you have any tricks, please tell me, but I cannot, like, you can go in and see how many people have seen a post, how it showed up in their feed.
Yeah.
And it's got, and from what I've Googled, from what I've read online, like, apparently Facebook has caught on to the Facebook group thing, and it's become like pages were. Or, how, like, everyone would see pages and then no one sees page content and everybody went to groups. And now I feel like if you don't have people really interacting with your content, no one ever sees my posts and content on the group. Uh-huh. So do you have any, like, words of wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely not engagement. Views is definitely still much higher. So I believe I get about 50% people see it, even if they're not engaging with it. You will see a lower percentage of engagement sometimes, depending on how your group is run. Like, I'll often see more engagement on my page than my group, but I'm getting more views in my group.
Okay.
And so usually the posts where I get the most engagement are like the engagement session winner announcement, and those I'll usually do that like as a video or something, and that's when I'll get the most engagement and everything. Or maybe if I have a really good like article that gives some really good tips and stuff in there. When it comes to engagement, when it comes to the group, I still make sure it's kind of like the email list of value content.
Right.
Because they'll get notifications when you make a post, and since they get notified when you make a post, you want to make it really good, so they're not like annoyed by it or anything. But one tip I give to get people in your group is make sure in the after they sign up for that model call to win the session, what you want them to do is on that like thank you page after they click on it, you can say if you want a second submission to the contest, join the group. And I increased my conversions to about probably 50% of the people who join my list now join my group just through that right there. And so yeah.
How often are you posting in your group?
I usually do it, I'd say a few times a week. Times a week. 1 to 3 times a week about. I mean it's not necessarily like Instagram where like you can just post a picture and like a pretty caption or something. You want it to be valuable. And so 1 to 3 times a week, I'd say.
Okay.
Definitely.
Cool.
So what would be one piece of advice that you would give to the students in the program? Maybe if the ones who are struggling, not sure what they're doing, etc.
Just stick with it. Like, trust in Jordan. Yes, I agree. It is a lot of hard work on the front end, especially if you're not super tech savvy or really comfortable with a computer. Like, I would call myself somewhere in the middle. Like, I'm not at all super tech savvy, but I'm not, a grandmother.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand it's even harder if you don't understand technology all that well, or you're just getting your feet wet in the website building thing and all the things you need to be doing online. It's hard, and it's harder for you if you don't already have a good grasp of those kind of things, which probably most people who are reaching out to you probably don't have a good grasp of those kind of things. So yes, it's hard. Yes, it's going to require a lot of effort on your part. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to want to throw your computer out the window when things aren't formatting right, or you can't come up. Just power through, because I'm telling you it works, but it's a long game.
Yeah.
Like, it's a long game. So yeah, and that makes it even
business
suckier.
Itself is a long game.
Yes. And if it was easy, everybody would do it,
exactly.
Right? Like, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So just stick with it. And the other thing is, like I had a friend that we were talking about blogging the other day, and she was like, I just don't have anything to say. Like, what do I say? I'm like, yes, you do. You know so much more than you think you know.
That's true.
So when it comes to that value content,
gotta dig deep.
Gotta dig deep. Like, I spent days coming up with, and I still tweak it, every now and then, and try to make it better or whatever. But a lot. Like, just go and have a conversation with someone about weddings that doesn't know anything about the industry.
Yeah.
And you will quickly learn how much you know, and maybe something will spark in that conversation that would be like, well, I could write about this. Because it doesn't necessarily have to be, you're not teaching a photography class in this.
Exactly.
But dig deep, and you know more than you think you do.
It just comes down to think about the bride's fears, desires, and problems. And then when you just think about those things, how can you make a solution for that?
Yeah. Yeah, just think, how can I serve this person?
Exactly.
How can I serve this person? How can I serve a bride in this situation?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Sarah, I love the results that you're getting and everything. I really appreciate the time that you had with me to ask you these questions and stuff. And I hope it really inspires some of the students and everything. Did you have any other questions for me?
I don't think so. Yeah, everything's been going really. I mean, I'm just really glad that we crossed paths, and
stuff.
I'm happy to, share my experience and everything. So it's good.
Perfect. Yeah, well, I'd love to hear, as time goes on, I'd love to hear more results and everything. Feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. And thank you so much, Sarah.
Okay, see you later. Bye, Jordan.
Take care.